I am Evelyn Carter, 29 years old. 6 months ago, I lost my home. When I turned to my parents for help, they uttered words I will carry for the rest of my life. That night, my apartment burned down. 7 years of memories vanished in mere hours. Desperate and shattered, I called my parents. My stepfather replied with 5 words burned into my soul: "Not our problem. Be more careful." Yet that wasn't the worst of it. A week later, the insurance company revealed my parents were named sole beneficiaries on my policy, a policy I never signed. 3 days after that, a fire investigator posed one simple question that shifted everything. Who had access to your apartment last week? The answer was immediate. My mother had visited, for the first time in 2 years. Before I go on, please like and subscribe, but only if this story truly touches you. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from tonight? And what time is it there? Now, let me take you back to the night everything changed. February 12th, 3:17 in the morning. The smoke alarm shattered the silence at 3:17 a.m. I jolted awake to darkness so dense I could taste it, a sharp chemical stench. My lungs scorched before my mind registered fire. No time to think. My hand grabbed my phone from the nightstand and I fled, barefoot in pajamas, nothing more. The hallway became a choking tunnel of black smoke, glowing orange from below. I slammed into the stairwell door hard enough to bruise my shoulder for weeks. 4 flights down, each step a silent plea, each breath a blade. When I stumbled onto the sidewalk, the February air struck like ice. I stood shivering in thin cotton, staring as flames curled from my fourth-floor window. Unit 4B. My home. A firefighter approached, his face somber under the helmet. "Ma'am, are you the resident?" I nodded, words failing. "I'm sorry," he said, eyes steady. "Everything in that unit is gone." Gone. The word felt meaningless. 7 years of my life lived inside those walls. Photos of my grandparents, the only copies I owned. The guitar my late father gave me at 16. My college diploma. My laptop holding every project, every memory, every fragment of who I'd become since leaving home. All reduced to smoke and ash. I collapsed onto the curb, still gripping my phone. The screen read 3:47 a.m. Neighbors clustered nearby in robes and slippers, whispering. Someone placed a blanket over my shoulders. I don't recall who. My trembling hands opened contacts. Mom, Dad. They would know what to do. They would come. I pressed call. It rang and rang. 8 rings before she answered. "Evelyn?" My mother's voice was heavy with sleep and irritation. "Do you know what time it is?" "Mom," my voice broke. "There was a fire. My apartment. Mom, I lost everything. I have nowhere to go. Oh." A long, hollow pause. "That's unfortunate." Unfortunate, as if I'd stained a favorite blouse. Rustling sounds, then my stepfather Richard's voice cut in. Patricia passed him the phone. "Evelyn, what's going on?" I repeated it all. The fire, the smoke, standing on the sidewalk with only my phone and the clothes I wore. Tears streamed now. I couldn't stop them. His reply arrived cold and final. "This isn't our problem, Evelyn. You should have been more careful. You're an adult now." The line went dead. I sat frozen, phone still at my ear, hearing only silence. Firefighters battled on. Neighbors slipped back inside. Dawn crept in, tinting the smoke a sickly orange. My parents hadn't asked if I was injured, hadn't offered to come, hadn't said they loved me. Not our problem. As shock slowly crystallized into something sharper, a memory rose. My mother in my apartment 5 days earlier, her first visit in 2 years. She'd arrived unannounced, claiming she missed me. She'd wandered every room, touching objects, asking questions. Back then, I'd felt happy, even grateful. Now, huddled on that curb beneath a stranger's blanket, I wondered, why had she really come? I shoved the thought aside. It felt insane, paranoid, yet the question refused to fade. Jason Park saved me that first week. My coworker had a spare room and a generous heart. He asked nothing when I appeared at his door at 6 a.m., ash still in my hair, possessing only my phone. He simply offered coffee and said, "Stay as long as you need." 3 days later, I felt human enough to face the insurance matter. I contacted my renter's insurance provider, bracing for paperwork and delays, but the representative, Greg, his flat Midwestern voice informed me, asked something that stopped me cold. "Miss Carter, can you confirm your relationship with Richard and Patricia Carter?" I stared at the borrowed laptop screen. "They're my parents, my mother and stepfather. Why?" A pause, too long. "Miss Carter, I believe you should come to our office. There's something you need to see." "Can't you tell me over the phone?" "I really think," he cleared his throat, "it would be better in person." I booked the next morning. After hanging up, I stared at the wall for ages. Jason found me that way when he returned from work. "Evelyn, you okay?" "The insurance company wants me in. Something about my parents." "Your parents? What did they have to do with your insurance?" "I don't know." I drew my knees to my chest. "But he mentioned a beneficiary designation form dated 6 months ago." Jason frowned. "Beneficiary on renter's insurance? That's strange." "Yeah," I said. "That's what I thought too." That night, sleep barely touched me. Something was deeply wrong. I could sense it. I just didn't yet grasp how wrong. The insurance office carried the scent of old coffee and grim tidings. Greg looked younger than his voice, around 30, with regret in his eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He guided me to a small conference room and shut the door. "Miss Carter, I want to begin by saying I'm truly sorry for your loss. Thank you, but you didn't call me here for sympathy." He sighed and slid a folder across the table. I opened it. My policy, standard details, my name as insured, coverage limits, effective dates. Then I turned to the final page, beneficiary designation. Richard Carter, Patricia Carter, 100%. The room seemed to tilt beneath me. "This is a mistake," I heard myself say. "I never signed this. I would never." "Miss Carter," Greg said gently. He pointed to the bottom of the page. "That's your signature." I looked. It looked exactly like mine. The same careful loops, the same familiar slant. But I knew, with absolute, bone-deep certainty, I had never touched this document, never held that pen. "This form was submitted 6 months ago," Greg continued, voice very low. "The original policy listed you as your own beneficiary, standard procedure. Someone changed it. 6 months ago. And the payout amount," he paused, $150,000. He let that settle, then added even more quietly, "Miss Carter, there's something else. A fire investigator contacted us this morning. He's been asking about this policy." My hands were trembling badly. I pressed them flat against the table to still them. Why would a fire investigator care about my insurance beneficiaries? Greg held my eyes. "I think you already know why." I did. The knowledge sat heavy in my chest like cold stone, but I still couldn't speak it aloud. Not yet. Someone had forged my signature, changed my beneficiaries, and 5 days before my apartment became an inferno, my mother, who hadn't visited in 2 full years, had suddenly appeared at my door. Coincidence? I no longer believed in coincidences. Marcus Webb looked exactly like a veteran fire investigator should. Weathered face, piercing eyes, handshake that carried weight. We met at a small coffee shop 3 blocks from the insurance office, neutral territory. "Miss Carter," he said, setting his cup down, "I'll be direct. I don't believe your fire was accidental." The words hung between us like smoke that wouldn't clear. "What makes you say that?" He pulled out his phone, opened photos I desperately didn't want to see. My bedroom, charred, black, ruined. "Look here," he pointed. "Point of origin is behind the dresser, near the outlet, but there's zero evidence of electrical failure, no frayed wires, no surge damage." I swallowed. "So what does that mean?" "It means someone helped the fire start and helped it spread." He put the phone away. "I've been doing this 22 years. I know what accidental looks like. This isn't it." I wrapped both hands around my coffee cup, chasing warmth. "So what happens now?" "Now I ask questions." His eyes locked on mine. "Who had access to your apartment in the week before the fire?" My heart lurched, then raced. I made myself answer. "I had a visitor 5 days before." "Who?" "My mother." Marcus didn't flinch. He simply nodded, slow, like another piece had just locked into place. "I already checked the building's entry logs, electronic locks. They keep records. Only 2 people entered your unit that week. You and a woman matching your mother's description." I couldn't speak. Nothing existed except the roaring in my ears. "Miss Carter," he said carefully, leaning forward just slightly, "I'm not accusing anyone of anything yet, but I need you to understand this investigation is active. If there's anything else, anything at all you know, now is the time." I thought about the insurance form, the forged signature, the $150,000. "There might be," I said quietly, "something else." That night, I called my mother. I kept my voice deliberately light, casual. Nothing wrong here. "Mom, I just wanted to thank you again for visiting last week. It really meant a lot." A careful pause. When she spoke, her tone had turned cautious. "Oh, yes, I missed you, sweetie. It had been too long." I picked at a loose thread on Jason's couch. "Hey, quick question. Did you notice anything strange in my apartment? Anything that seemed off?" I added softly, "The fire investigator keeps asking." "Fire investigator?" Her voice sharpened instantly. "Why are they investigating?" "Apparently, they think it might not have been an accident." Silence. I counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. "Evelyn." Her tone had completely changed, cold, controlled, metallic. "Don't talk to those investigators without a lawyer. They twist everything you say." "Why would I need a lawyer, Mom? I'm the victim here." "I'm just trying to protect you." "From what?" Another long, loaded silence. In the background, I heard Richard's muffled voice asking something. "I have to go," she said abruptly. "My father needs me." "Stepfather," I corrected quietly. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That small fact surprised me. Something had shifted inside me over the last few days. The grief was still there, sharp and real, for the home I'd lost, the memories turned to ash. But beneath it, something harder, clearer was forming. Her warning hadn't been about protecting me. It had been about protecting herself. I opened my messages and texted Marcus Webb. "We need to talk. I have more information." His reply came in seconds. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m., same place." I didn't sleep that night either, but this time it wasn't fear keeping me awake. It was the beginning of a plan. The calls started the next morning. Aunt Margaret was first. My mother's younger sister, the one who always sent sweet birthday cards, who always remembered. "Honey," her voice was thick with concern, "your mom called me last night. She's so worried about you." "Worried about what?"
A delicate pause. She said, "You've been saying some strange things about the fire, about her." I sat up very straight. "I haven't told anyone anything." "Evelyn, sweetheart, it's okay to struggle. What you went through, losing everything like that, anyone would have trouble coping." My stomach turned icy. "What exactly did she tell you?" A softer voice now. "Just that you're under a lot of stress, maybe having some kind of breakdown." She added even gently, "She's worried you might say things you don't really mean. Crazy things." Crazy. There it was. "I'm not crazy, Aunt Margaret." "No one's saying you are, honey. We're just—" Did she email the whole family or just call? Silence. That was answer enough. "Get some rest, sweetheart. We're all praying for you." She hung up before I could speak. I immediately opened my email. Nothing from family, but there was one message from HR at work, marked urgent, sent 2 days ago. I'd been so consumed by the insurance nightmare, I had completely missed it. My blood ran cold as I read the subject line, then the body. "We received an anonymous call expressing concern about your mental state following recent personal trauma. While we support all employees through difficult times, we need to schedule a meeting to discuss your current fitness for work." I read it twice, then a third time. She wasn't just trying to steal my money. She was trying to steal my credibility, my job, my entire future. Before I could even speak, before I could accuse her of anything, she was already making sure no one would ever believe me. The anger that rose in my chest was unlike anything I'd ever known. Cold, clear, deadly calm. "Game on, Mom." Marcus Webb raised an eyebrow when I showed him the HR email. "That's a bold move," he said, "discrediting you before you can even speak. It means she's scared. It means she's strategic." He tapped his pen against the notebook. "We need something concrete, something she can't talk her way out of." That's when it hit me. "The building," I said slowly. "They installed new security cameras 2 months ago in every hallway." Marcus was already reaching for his phone. "What's your building manager's name?" 20 minutes later, we sat in Mr. Henderson's cramped office, staring at grainy footage on a small monitor. "Here," Henderson said, pointing. "February 7th, the day you mentioned." I watched my mother move down the 4th-floor hallway. She carried a large black bag, the kind used for gym clothes or an overnight stay. She glanced left, then right, before slipping inside my apartment. Timestamp 2:07 p.m. Henderson fast-forwarded. She reappeared at 5:12 p.m. 3 hours. She had told me she only stopped by for 30 minutes. But that wasn't the worst part. "Wait," I said, leaning closer. "Where's the bag?" We re-watched. She entered carrying it. She left empty-handed. "Can you check the other angles?" Marcus asked. "Stairwells, parking garage?" Henderson nodded and clicked through feeds. We found her on the service entrance camera. Patricia walking to her car at 5:15 p.m. Still no bag. She hadn't carried it out any other exit either. "She left it inside my apartment," I said quietly. Marcus jotted a note. "That bag is key." He looked up. Fire investigators recovered something suspicious near the outlet, still in the lab for analysis, but if we can prove what she brought in, the 3-hour stay, the missing bag, and the point of origin, we finally have a direction. Diana Reeves was precisely what I needed, a lawyer who specialized in insurance fraud and had zero patience for polite lies. "This signature is good," she said, holding the beneficiary form up to the light in her downtown office. "Professional even, but not perfect." "What do you mean?" She produced a magnifying glass, old school, effective. "See these points here and here?" She traced faint lines across the page. Hesitation marks. When someone forges, they pause of tricky spots, trying to match the flow. Your real signature is fluid, muscle memory after years of signing. This one hesitates at least 3 times. Hope sparked in my chest. So you can prove it's forged? I can retain a forensic document examiner who will prove it's forged. Diana set the form down. What's more telling is how it was submitted. This wasn't mailed. It was handed in person at the insurance office, meaning someone walked in pretending to be you or claiming to act on your behalf. She slid another page forward. I've already requested the visitor logs for that date, and I spoke with the clerk who processed the form. My pulse jumped. What did he say? He remembers a woman, middle-aged, brown hair, said she was handling paperwork for her daughter who was too busy with work. Diana's smile turned razor sharp. Does that description sound familiar? Brown hair. My mother had been covering her gray for decades. Can he identify her in a lineup? He's willing to try. Diana gathered the documents. Between the security footage, the signature forensics, and a potential eyewitness, your mother may have outsmarted herself. I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. What do we do now? Now, she said, we wait for her to make another move. We didn't wait long. The invitation arrived 3 days later. My mother's voice on the phone was honey sweet, the exact tone she used when she wanted something. Evelyn, honey, the family's been so worried about you. I'm hosting a little gathering this Sunday. Nothing fancy, just people who love you coming together to show support after everything you've been through. I almost laughed. Almost. A gathering. At our house, around 2. Uncle Thomas, Aunt Margaret, the cousins. Everyone wants to see you. Make sure you're okay. Make sure I'm the unstable one, she meant. Make sure everyone sees fragile, unreliable Evelyn before I can say anything dangerous. I'll be there, I said. Really? Surprise slipped through her voice before she caught it. That's wonderful, sweetheart. It'll be so good for you to be around family. I hung up and called Marcus immediately. Don't confront her, he warned. We need more time, the warrant's being processed, but these things take days. I won't confront her, but I need to be there when the truth surfaces. He was quiet a moment. Fine, but be careful. I'll be there within 30 minutes of your signal. Next, I called Diana. How's the witness identification coming? Done. Satisfaction colored her voice. He picked your mother out of a 6-photo lineup. No hesitation. Finally, I texted Jason. Remember that favor I mentioned? Cloud backups and subpoenas? His reply was instant. Already on it. Legal process takes time, but I found something interesting. Call me. I stared at my phone. 3 allies, a witness, video footage, and a family gathering where my mother planned to paint me as unhinged. She thought she was setting a trap. She didn't realize she was walking straight into one. My parents' house looked exactly as I remembered. White siding, manicured lawn, American flag beside the door, the perfect picture of suburban respectability. I parked on the street and sat in the borrowed car for a long moment, steadying my breathing. 15 cars lined the driveway, 15 witnesses to whatever my mother had orchestrated. The door opened before I could knock. Patricia stood there in her Sunday best, cream blouse, pearl earrings, the concerned mother expression flawlessly arranged. Evelyn. She pulled me into a hug, holding too long, too tightly. Her voice carried deliberately for the people behind her. My poor baby, I've been so worried about you. Over her shoulder, I saw them. Aunt Margaret, Uncle Thomas, cousins Brian and Michelle, faces I'd known my entire life, all watching me with the same careful, calibrated look. Pity. She'd done her work well. Come in, come in. Patricia kept an arm around me, guiding me into the living room as though I might shatter at any second. Everyone's here for you. The room fell quiet as we stepped inside. I scanned the faces. Richard stood in the corner near the fireplace, avoiding my eyes, phone gripped tightly in his hand.
Aunt Margaret approached first. "Honey," she said, taking both my hands in hers, "your mom told us what you've been going through. It's okay to not be okay." "The stress of losing everything like that," Cousin Brian added from the couch. "Anyone would struggle." "Maybe talking to someone would help," Michelle offered gently. "A professional." I looked around at the people who had known me my entire life and saw not one face that believed I might be telling the truth. Not yet, but that was about to change. Patricia waited until everyone had drinks in hand. Then she cleared her throat. "I want to thank you all for coming." Her voice trembled, perfectly rehearsed. "As you know, Evelyn has been through something terrible, and in times like these, family needs to come together." Murmurs of agreement moved through the room. "But I also need to address—" She paused, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "The elephant in the room." I stayed perfectly still. "My daughter has been saying some very troubling things lately." Patricia's gaze swept the room, touching each sympathetic face. "About me, about her father, about the fire." Richard flinched at the word father. He still refused to meet my eyes. "She thinks we—" Patricia's voice broke, Oscar-worthy. "She thinks we had something to do with what happened to her apartment. Her own parents." Gasps, shocked whispers. "Patricia, no!" Aunt Margaret breathed. "I know she's hurting. I know she lost everything. But to accuse us of something so horrible?" Richard stepped forward, placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. His voice came out flat. "Our daughter is clearly not well. We love her, but we can't enable these delusions." The room's attention shifted to me, waiting for the denial, the tears, the collapse, the proof that poor Evelyn had finally broken. I said nothing. My hands stayed relaxed at my sides. My expression remained calm. Let them watch. Let them remember this moment. My silence, her performance. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Marcus. "Got the full footage. You need to see this now." I stood. "Excuse me," I said, calmly. "I need some air." And I walked straight out the front door, leaving my mother frozen mid-performance, her audience still waiting for the breakdown that was never coming. Not yet. Okay, I need to pause here for just a second. If my mother's performance is making your blood boil the way it made mine in that moment, drop the word busted in the comments right now, because what happens next? Let's just say she really should have checked whether her daughter's building had security cameras before she ever stepped foot inside. Like and subscribe if you want to see how this ends. Trust me, you do. Now back to the story. Marcus was parked 2 houses down. I slid into the passenger seat, heart hammering. "What did you find?" He handed me his phone. "Full footage, all angles. Watch." I watched my mother on the small screen. Hallway camera, walking in with the large black bag at 2:07 p.m., walking out at 5:12 p.m., empty-handed. 3 hours, Marcus said. "You told her 30 minutes. And the bag," he continued, "that's where it gets interesting." He pulled up a photo. Charred plastic fragments, twisted wire pieces. "Fire investigators recovered this near the outlet," he said, looking at me. "Digital timer, the kind you plug appliances into." My stomach dropped. "We traced the serial number to a batch sold at Henderson's Hardware, 3 miles from your parents' house." Another photo appeared. Grainy security footage from the store checkout counter, 8 days before the fire. Cash purchase. The woman had brown hair, familiar posture, a purse I recognized instantly. "Is that—" "He will need official identification," Marcus said. "But yeah, that's her." I looked back toward my parents' house. Through the living room window, I could see shapes moving. My family probably still discussing how tragic it was that Evelyn had finally lost her mind. My phone buzzed again. Diana. "Witness identification came through," she said without preamble. "Photo lineup.
He picked Patricia, no hesitation, said he remembered her perfume, Chanel No. 5, said his mother used to wear it. I almost smiled, my mother's one consistent vanity. Marcus, I turned to him, how long until you can make an arrest? He submitted the warrant application 2 days ago, right after the witness ID. Judge Morrison signed it this morning. He checked his watch. I've got 2 officers meeting me here in 30 minutes. He studied my face. What are you planning? I'm going back inside. I met his eyes. I won't confront her, but when you come through that door, I want my family to see the truth. All of it. At once. He hesitated, then gave one slow nod. 30 minutes, then we end this. I sat in Marcus's car for another moment, gathering myself. The evidence was ironclad now. Video footage, witness identification, timer device remnants, forged signature. My mother had been careful, but not careful enough. One more thing, I said. The messages from her phone. Jason had explained it the day before. Cloud backups. Text messages people think they've deleted, still sitting quietly on servers, waiting for the right subpoena. The legal request went through this morning, Marcus confirmed. Her carrier is cooperating. We should have her full message history within 48 hours. But I already knew what we would find. She hadn't done this alone. Jason knew, maybe helped, and somewhere in those deleted texts was proof. Go, Marcus said, checking his watch again. I'll be there at 2:45. Just stay calm, let the evidence speak. I nodded and opened the car door, then paused. Marcus, why are you helping me this much? This is more than just a standard investigation. He was quiet for a long moment. My sister, he finally said, 15 years ago, abusive ex-husband burned down her house while she was at work. Insurance company tried to deny the claim, said it was suspicious. His jaw tightened. She spent 3 years fighting to prove she didn't do it herself. It nearly destroyed her. Did she win? Eventually, but it cost her everything. He looked straight at me. When I saw your case, mother listed as beneficiary without consent, fire with no accidental cause, I knew someone was trying to do just to you what they tried to her.
I understood then this wasn't just a job for him. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me yet, Marcus replied. Thank me when she's in cuffs. I walked back toward my parents' house. 25 minutes. Then everything would change. The living room went silent when I stepped back inside. Patricia remained at the center, tissue in hand, still playing the wounded mother. But something flickered in her eyes the moment she saw my face. I wasn't crying, I wasn't shaking, I wasn't behaving like someone on the verge of collapse. Evelyn, honey, she recovered quickly. Are you feeling better? Do you need water? Actually, Mom, I have a question. The room tensed. 15 pairs of eyes locked on me. When you visited my apartment last month, I kept my voice calm, conversational. Why did you stay for 3 hours? You told me it was 30 minutes. Patricia blinked. What? I don't remember exactly how long. The building has cameras, Mom. I pulled out my phone. I have the footage. Her face changed, just for a second, a flicker of something cold beneath the maternal mask. Richard straightened. Evelyn, that's enough. You're embarrassing yourself. And the bag you brought, I continued, ignoring him. The large black one. Where did it go? Because you walked in with it, but you walked out empty-handed. I don't know what you're talking about. The fire investigators do. The room was utterly still now. Aunt Margaret's mouth hung open. Cousin Brian had set down his drink. Even Richard had stopped pretending to check his phone. Evelyn. Patricia's voice had lost its honey. Pure steel. Now I don't know what lies these investigators have been feeding you, but... Her phone rang. Richard's phone rang at the same moment. They looked at each other. Something passed between them. Fear. Real fear. Richard glanced at his screen. His face went white. Patricia. His voice cracked. It's the police. The doorbell rang. Uncle Thomas was closest to the door. He opened it without thinking, still processing. Marcus Webb stepped inside, badge visible on his belt. 2 uniformed officers flanked him. Patricia Carter. My mother didn't move. For the first time in my life, I saw her completely still, frozen, like an animal caught in headlights. I'm Fire Investigator Marcus Webb. He crossed the room in 4 steps. You're under arrest for arson in the 2nd degree and insurance fraud. This is ridiculous. Patricia finally found her voice. It came out shrill, nothing like her usual composure. Evelyn set me up. She's been planning this. She's sick. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. Marcus took her arm, not roughly, but firmly. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Don't believe her? Patricia twisted toward the family, mascara starting to run. She's unstable. She's been making things up since the fire. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be provided for you. The handcuffs clicked into place. The sound echoed in the silent room. Richard tried to step toward his wife, but the second officer blocked him. Mr. Carter, we have questions for you as well. Please come with us. I wasn't. Richard's face crumpled. It was her idea, all of it. Patricia! Patricia's scream was raw. Shut up! But it was too late. The family had heard. Aunt Margaret sank into a chair, hand over her mouth. Cousin Brian looked like he might be sick. Uncle Thomas stood there shaking his head slowly. I watched them lead my mother out the door. She didn't look back at me. She didn't have to. We both knew how this ended. For a long moment after the police cars pulled away, no one spoke. The living room felt different now, smaller. The carefully arranged furniture, the family photos on the mantel, the fresh flowers Patricia had set out, all of it looked like a stage set after the play had ended. Aunt Margaret was the first to move. She rose from her chair and walked toward me, tears streaming down her face. Evelyn, her voice broke. I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. You didn't know. I should have asked. She took my hands in hers. You're my niece, and I believed her. I always believed her. Cousin Brian approached next. I can't believe that she would. He couldn't finish the sentence. She did, I said simply. No anger, just fact. One by one they came to me. Uncle Thomas, Michelle, the others. Apologies, shock, disbelief. Some couldn't look me in the eye. Some couldn't stop looking, as if seeing me for the first time. Whatever you need, Uncle Thomas said. His voice was gruff, but his eyes were wet. Legal fees, a place to stay, the family will help. The real family. I thought about that word, family, what it meant, what it should mean. Thank you, I said, but I need some time to figure out who my real family is. No one argued. I walked out the front door into the February sunlight. The cold air felt clean after the suffocating warmth inside. My phone buzzed. Diana. She's being processed now. Bail hearing tomorrow. Richard's talking. He's trying to make a deal. I looked up at the sky. Clear blue. Endless. Good, I said. Let him talk. 2 days later, I sat across from Diana in her office, a stack of documents between us. The case is solid. Video evidence placing Patricia at the scene, witness identification on the forged signature, timer device remains matching a purchase near their home, and now, she slid a paper across the desk. Richard's statement. I read it. The words blurred together at first, then sharpened. Patricia came up with the plan after we fell behind on payments, the gambling debts. That was my fault, but she said this would fix everything, said Evelyn had good insurance, said no one would get hurt. No one would get hurt. I set the paper down. What's the damage for Patricia? Arson in the 2nd degree. That's a Class B felony, plus insurance fraud, forgery, conspiracy. She's looking at 8 to 12 years with a plea deal, probably 6. And Richard? Conspiracy charges. He knew about the plan, helped cover it up. 2 years probation, mandatory gambling addiction treatment.
Diana paused. He's agreed to testify against her. I nodded slowly, the insurance payout already being redirected.
You're the rightful beneficiary. Always were. The company's cooperating fully. $150,000 minus legal fees should be in your account within 60 days. I thought about that money, what it represented, everything I'd lost condensed into a number. I want a restraining order, I said, against both of them. That can be arranged. And I want this kept quiet, no media circus. Diana nodded. The court conceals certain records, especially in family-related cases. I stood and looked out her window at the city below, people walking, living their lives, unaware. Thank you, Diana. You did the hard part, she said. I just handled the paperwork. Quick check-in, everyone. If you've ever had to cut ties with family members for your own sanity, type "I had to" in the comments, because I know I'm not alone in this. And if this story is hitting different for you tonight, share it with someone who needs to hear that setting boundaries isn't betrayal, it's survival. Okay, let me tell you what happened after. News travels fast in small communities. Within 2 weeks, everyone knew. The church my mother had attended for 30 years, the book club she'd hosted, the neighbors who'd admired her garden, all of them whispering behind closed doors. Aunt Margaret kept me updated, whether I wanted to hear it or not. The pastor asked her not to come back, she told me over coffee, said it was too disruptive for the congregation. Can you imagine? Patricia, who organized the Christmas bazaar for a decade. I could imagine. I could imagine it very well. Richard lost his job, she continued between bites. The store owner didn't want the publicity, and someone spray-painted their garage door, had to repaint it twice. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pity either, just a hollow kind of nothing. She's been calling everyone, Margaret said, trying to explain, saying it was a misunderstanding, that the evidence was planted, that you manipulated the investigators. She shook her head. Nobody's answering anymore. Good. Margaret reached across the table and took my hand. She's my sister. I grew up with her. And what she did to you, her voice caught. That's not family. That's not anything I recognize. I squeezed her hand. It's not your fault. I know, but I still feel it. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside the coffee shop window, life went on. Cars passed, people laughed, the world kept spinning. The gambling, I finally said. How bad was it? Richard's gambling. Margaret's face darkened. Bad. 180,000, maybe more, to people you don't want to owe money to. That explained the desperation, not that it excused anything. She thought she could fix it by burning my life down. She thought wrong. Yes, Margaret said quietly. She did. The court date came on a gray Thursday in April. I sat in the back row of the courtroom watching my mother in her orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed in front of her. Her hair had grown out, gray showing at the roots now. No salon appointments in county jail. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. She didn't turn around to see if I was there. Maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't want to know. The judge read the charges. Arson in second degree. Insurance fraud. Forgery. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Each word landed like a stone. Patricia's lawyer, public defender since Richard couldn't afford anyone else, had negotiated a plea deal, guilty on all counts in exchange for a reduced sentence recommendation. Patricia Carter, you are hereby sentenced to 6 years in state prison with eligibility for parole after 4 years. 6 years. My mother would be 62 when she got out, if she got out early. I watched her shoulders shake, maybe crying, or just the weight of it finally hitting her. Richard's hearing was separate because he'd cooperated fully and testified against Patricia.
The DA offered a deal: 18 months in county jail, suspended to 2 years of probation, contingent on 200 hours of community service and completion of a gambling addiction program. The judge made it crystal clear: one violation and he'll serve every day of that 18 months. His name on a public record forever. After the sentencing, Diana met me in the hallway. The insurance money cleared yesterday. $142,000 after legal fees. It's in your account. I nodded. The number felt abstract, meaningless. The restraining order was approved. She continued, neither of them can contact you directly or through third parties for the next 10 years. Thank you. She studied my face. How do you feel? I thought about it. Really thought. Empty, I said finally, but free. She nodded like that made sense. It did. I started therapy 3 weeks after the trial. Dr. Okonkwo had a kind eyes and a habit of asking questions I didn't want to answer, which meant she was exactly what I needed. Do you forgive them? She asked during our 4th session. I stared at the ceiling of her office, considering. Forgiveness isn't my job right now. Healing is. She smiled. That's a healthy perspective. Is it? You're not forcing yourself into an emotion you don't feel. That's growth. Growth. Such a small word for such a massive shift. I moved into a new apartment at the end of April. Smaller than my old one, a studio in a quieter neighborhood. But it had good locks, a security system I chose myself, and no memories. Jason helped me move in. Aunt Margaret sent flowers. Uncle Thomas dropped off a casserole, stood awkwardly in my tiny kitchen, and said, call if you need anything. I bought a new guitar, not the same brand as the one my late stepfather, my first stepfather, had given me. Nothing could replace that. But when I played it, I could almost hear him again, his voice teaching me chords, his laugh when I messed up. Some things can't be recovered, but you can build new ones. The nightmares faded over time. The smoke and fire, my mother's face, the sound of Richard's cold voice, they visited less and less. Some nights I slept straight through till morning. Family, I decided, isn't about blood. It's about choice, about who shows up, who protects you, who believes you when the world says you're crazy. My biological mother tried to destroy me. My chosen family helped me survive. That was enough. That was everything. The letter arrived 2 months after the sentencing. I recognized the return address immediately. State Women's Correctional Facility. My mother's handwriting on the envelope, smaller, neater than I remembered, as though she'd taken extra care. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me pause. I sat at my kitchen table and read it. Dear Evelyn, I've had a lot of time to think in here, about what I did, about what I lost. You have to understand, I was desperate. Your father's debts were crushing us, and I thought, I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong. But you're still my daughter. You're still my baby. Please come visit me. Please let me explain. I'm still your mother. Love, Mom. I read it twice, then 3 times. Then I took a fresh sheet of paper and wrote back. Not to send, just for myself. Patricia, you were my mother, but the woman who raised me would never have tried to kill me for money. I don't know who you are now, and I don't need to find out. Don't write again. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'd send it, maybe not. Then I blocked the prison's incoming mail through my post office. Professional, clean, final. Jason came over that evening for dinner. He noticed the envelope in my trash, from her. Yeah, I said. You okay? I thought about the question, really considered it. Better than okay, I said. I'm free. He smiled. You want help making dinner? Please. We cooked together in my tiny kitchen. Pasta with vegetables. Nothing fancy. Music playing softly from my new speaker. My new guitar leaning against the wall. It wasn't the life I'd planned. It was better. I'm sitting in my apartment now, looking out at the city lights. 6 months since the fire. 4 months since the trial. A lifetime since I stopped believing that family meant safety. Sometimes I think about what I lost. The photos that can't be reprinted. The guitar that carried my stepfather's voice. The naive belief that my mother loved me more than money. Those things are gone. But here's what I found. Strength I didn't know I had. Friends who became family. The ability to trust my own instincts, even when everyone around me said I was wrong. Fire destroys. Everyone knows that. But what they don't tell you is that fire also reveals. It burns away the surface, the pretenses, the lies, the carefully constructed images, and shows you what's underneath. My mother's love was conditional. It always had been. The fire just finally showed me the price tag. If you're watching this, if you're in a family that makes you feel crazy for telling the truth, you're not crazy. You're awake. And being awake is terrifying at first, but it's also the beginning of freedom. I'm Evelyn Carter. I'm 29 years old, and my mother tried to burn down my apartment for insurance money. She failed. Not because I was smarter, not because I was lucky, but because I finally stopped protecting people who would never protect me. That's the hardest lesson, and the most important one. You're allowed to save yourself, even from family, especially from family. The fire took everything I owned, but it couldn't take who I am, and in the end, that's all that matters. Before I go, a few things this experience taught me. Trust is earned, not assumed, even with family. Your gut feeling exists for a reason. When something feels wrong, it probably is. And setting boundaries isn't abandoning family, it's protecting yourself from people who already abandoned you first. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story helped you feel less alone tonight, drop a heart in the comments. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them. There are more stories like this one linked in the description. Check them out if you want. I'm Evelyn, and I'm still standing. And if you're going through something similar, you will too. Like and subscribe.